Okay, so today we will talk about Microsoft Purview, what exactly the Microsoft Purview is, how you can start with, what you can do with the Microsoft Purview, and how you can implement the data governance in Microsoft Purview. Okay, so in Microsoft Purview, basically it is available at organization level. You were doing previously also all the data governance part. You are still doing the data governance part in Azure portal, but right now you are doing it in a segregated way. You have a SQL server, you have ADLS, you have the external sources like Snowflake or S3. You are doing the governance by giving the secret key access. You are creating a role. All those things you are doing it depending upon the service, Azure service that you are using. Now what Microsoft Purview did is they have created a dedicated platform for dedicated platform for data governance, though still less people are using it right now, but it may have a good future in coming months. Why? Because here you can perform so many data governance or related things like data cataloging. So in the data catalog, what you can do is you can scan your data source. So if you have a data in SQL, or you have data in ADLS, or you have data in Snowflake, or in files, what you can do is you can perform the scanning of your data. Now, what you will achieve with this scanning? So, scanning can be done at both the levels, at data lake or at data warehouse. Okay. Now, why scanning is important or why data cataloging is important? Imagine that you have a banking data, and because this bank has a collaboration with multiple insurance company, other banks having a data of customer in various regions in India, outside India, or maybe in Europe. Now, in that case, it is very important what that data contains. So in the data catalog, what we do, we scan the data and then we classify the data. So classification of data is also important part of the data catalog, or you can say Microsoft Purview. Now, what you will do in the classification, let's say in my banking data, I have Aadhaar numbers, or I have mobile numbers, or a email, or SSN, or my credit card, or my PIN, or any other important information. Now, as we are moving into big data world, we may have a structured as well as unstructured data. Now, identifying mobile, PAN, email in a structured data is quite easy by doing the regular expression or finding out a pattern. But in unstructured data, it is very difficult. So what this Microsoft Purview do in the data cataloging, it can classify that you have a city in the data, you have mobile number in your data, you have a person in the data, or you have the email in the data. So what you do is you perform a scanning on your data source. Data source can be anything. And then you are going to perform the classification. Now, what Microsoft Purview did is, and there will be classification whether it has the, because of that information stored in my database or my data lake, I may not be complying with the GDPR. Okay, so these things can easily be identified by the Microsoft Purview. Another thing is you can create your own glossary. So what is glossary? So two things is there: inbuilt glossary and custom glossary. So when I say inbuilt glossary, it knows what is passport and how to recognize passport in the database, person in the database, or the credit card in the database, or country or city. So this is inbuilt glossary. I can create my own glossary as well. So let's say I have a student database of Azure Live, and I will define that if you see 8-digit number starting with 888, then this has to be termed as Azure Live student ID. So what I did is I created my own glossary, okay, and I added it into the glossary database. Now from next onwards, whenever you are performing a scan, it will automatically say that there are these many student ID, Azure Live student ID, or we have classified it contains the Azure Live student ID, right? So that is called as a glossary. Another thing is there is something called as data map. So what data map is, it is nothing but it's a hierarchy. It will show you the relationship between the data set. Okay, so it is like I have got the data from this data source, and then we have performed this data scanning, and then we have got these classification. So all this called as a data map, and it is available in visual also. So through that, you can identify that, okay, how my data is, what are the different data sources. In a pictorial way, you will be able to get it. Okay, that is called as a data map. So from data cataloging, so what you're going to do, you're going to perform cataloging. In the cataloging, you have to perform scanning. In the scanning, it is going to perform classification. And in the classification, you will have inbuilt glossary, or you can have a custom glossary. And the output will come as a data map. Okay. Another thing is it has domain. So let's say I have some data available on S3, some data available on Snowflake, some data available on ADLS, some data is available on another storage account. So what you can do is you can create a domain. So domains are related to business. So I can create HR domain, I can create sales, I can create marketing, or depending upon your business requirement, you can create the domains. And within the domain, you can create collections. Okay, so I have domain, and within a domain, I can create collections like HR India, HR US. You can sub-classify it. Okay, and within collection, you can create assets. So assets can be your data, it can be some metadata. All this will be a part of a asset. Okay, so ultimately domain is also an asset, but the hierarchy will go something like this. So you create a domain, then you create a collection. Inside collection, you can create an asset. Now once you have an asset, when it comes to governance, you want to share it. So you can share the assets in the Microsoft Purview to a certain user. So what is governance? So governance is this only: the data, how data flowing, data security, or data sharing. Ultimately, these are the few pillars of the data governance. So here you can create an asset, you can share it, restricted share, public share, all those things you can do from the share. Or now here you can send an invite also, that you want to share it with somebody else, and somebody else can share it with you by sending a data share invite. Now, once you are performing a data classification, like when you are performing a scan, you can get the report. You can open that report in Power BI also, that okay, I have performed a scan on my data, I have got these many person, these many credit cards, and it can draw the charts, all those things in the Power BI itself. Okay, so you can open it in the in the Power BI. Another important thing in the Microsoft Purview is the policies. You can create data policies, you can share policies, you can do perform all deletion updation on the policy. All those things you can do using the policy. Okay, now let's look into it. Another thing is you can create a data lineage in Microsoft Purview. So how data is generated, how data is flowing from, what are the sources, what modifications are done on the in the data, all those things you can do from Microsoft Purview. Okay, so let's look into it. So I'll go to Microsoft Purview. Actually, I have to go in incognito mode, Azure portal, and you can give a name over here. Oh, so I'm logged into my Microsoft Azure portal. Next thing that you require is a data source. So let's create one storage account. So here you have to I think all of you are already aware of, you require subscription, resource group, and then you require a storage account name. So data architect, demo, your location, ADLS, primary workload, keep it as this, standard, next, enable public access, next, create. Is my screen visible? Can anyone confirm?
Yes, Saurabh.
Yeah.
So, Saurabh, meanwhile, I have a quick question. So, do we need any license for this one, or how is it? Yesterday, you messaged in group saying that license is something is required.
So it's related to, actually we have one common account with Deepak. Okay, so under that it was not allowing me to create a purview, because in the last, in one of the batch 8 of Azure Data Engineering, I was teaching Microsoft Fabric. So what happened is, there I was able to work on to the Fabric, but now was not able to work on to the Purview because of some license tire or something. So then what I have to do, yesterday I have to create another account with my personal name. I have to put my credit card and all, and then started working on it. So it's you need to have a sufficient privileges in your subscription. That's it.
Okay,
So
so
it's
license is not required, right? Normal account would work.
not no not the any specific license. It has to be enabled in your Azure portal account.
Okay,
Maybe if you are using company's one, you have to activate it from your admin.
okay. And
Okay.
suppose I will be using Gmail one. In that case, nothing is required.
Then,
Any
then
activity.
also it will work. Then also it will work.
Okay,
So it will not work on the trial license. It has to be on the paid one.
okay.
Okay. So our storage account got created. Next thing is, in the storage account you have to give the necessary permissions. Okay, so for that, you have inside your storage account, you have to go to IAM, you have to go to role, add role, and then what you have to do is you have to go to the contributor, so here we can give the owner or contributor depending upon, so all these things will be done by your system admin. So here you have to select the managed identity. In the managed identity, you can select a member, and then you have to give the Microsoft Purview account. So we are giving the accessibility to the Microsoft Purview account. Otherwise, it will not be able to scan and perform the searches. And here we can keep this. review and assign. So what you have to do is you have to give the necessary permission. So one is the contributor. Another one that you have to give is the storage. So here you can give blob contributor, data reader, manage identity, select member. These are the necessary steps that you have to perform. And you have to perform the same thing for any other database. If you're using Azure SQL database or on-premises database, in every way you have to do this. Okay, now I'm done with this. Next thing that we will go to Purview. So I'll go to Microsoft Purview service here. And what you have to do is you have to go to create, and you can create a account name, data architect, Purview, and you can create an account. Taking quite a time. Meanwhile, I'll show you the sample data. Okay, so this deployment is complete. Go to resource. And here you will see that once you create a Microsoft Purview account, here you will find.
Your screen got stuck.
It's working fine over here. No problem, Saurabh. Your
problem?
screen is, yeah, no worries.
Can you share again? Yeah.
Okay. Is it visible?
Yes. We can
Okay.
see the desktop, I mean the wallpaper, nothing else.
The Purview account, right?
No,
No,
the
no. For
wallpaper.
we are not able to see.
Now,
No, only wallpaper we can
No,
see.
no.
now
Yes, we can see.
the Purview
Yes.
account you can see, right? Actually, I have opened it in incognito. Some issues there. Okay.
Now we can see Purview account.
Okay. So here you can see that we have in the Purview account, we have Microsoft Purview governance portal, right? So you have to go to this. So this is the home page of Microsoft Purview, where you will find two things, four options over here: data catalog, data map, data state insight, data policy, and management. Okay. So we talked about catalog, map, data policy, right? And the Power BI report, that is data state insight. Now, if you go to the data catalog, here you will find the business assets. So assets which we talked about, and the glossary.
Soro, your screen got stuck again.
No,
We
Saurabh.
are see
No,
only the.
no, Saurabh, your screen is not
No, no,
stuck.
it's working fine for
Yeah,
us.
it's
Yeah, it's
working
working
fine.
fine.
No, it's fine.
Maybe Alice, you can refresh at
Okay,
your end.
fine.
Okay, so here you see that we have got data catalog, data map, data state insight, data policy, and management. So if you go to the data catalog, here you will find various assets like this. And if I go to data map, you will see all the options that are available. First thing is data source, then we have collections, then we have one more monitoring for monitoring of the various scan. Then you have, this is the asset types. So like whether it is a table, is it a ADLS account, or is it a data lake or data warehouse? That is basically asset types. Right now it is in preview mode. Then you have a data sharing. So how many shares you have made, if you have got any share invite, shared resources. So all those things are available inside the data sharing. And then you have the source management. So which we talk about the scan and the scanning, if you want to set your own rule, own pattern, so that you can set from here. Then you have integration runtime. So let's say I want to scan my Microsoft SQL server that is hosted on premises. Okay, so you can create an integration runtime and then connect with your on-premise SQL server also. Then you have the classification. Okay, and you can set your own classification rule also. You can have your own attributes within the data, right? So this is basically over here. So if you go to the data source, I can go to register. So here you will find Azure, AWS, Synapse, RDS Amazon, RDS Amazon SQL, Redshift, S3, Azure Blob Storage, Azure ADLS Gen 1, Gen 2, Azure SQL, all type of data break, the all type of databases, the MySQL, Cassandra, Dataverse, Fabric, BigQuery, Hadoop, all type of data sources are available over here. Okay, so I will go with the ADLS Gen 2, continue. And now here you have to give your subscription, storage account, then you have, it will give you the endpoint, it will give you the collection and data policy enforcement. So if you want to while registering the data source to the Microsoft Purview, at that time also you can allow data policies to be assigned to this data source. So if any policy that you have set, it will be available over here. Okay, so I'll register this. Now, once you register this, a data map will be created like this. Okay, so this is my Purview account. And then what I did is I have added one data source, which is ADLS. Here you will see that I have edit button, new scan, and the delete. If I go to the view detail of this particular ADLS data source, here you will find how many scans we have performed, and within the scan, how many assets we have got. Okay, and then how many assets got classified. Okay, so this is what, this is the scan dashboard you can see. Then you have the hierarchy. So like from Azure subscription, you are inside this resource group, and then you are inside the ADLS account. Each data source will have a data source ID over here. And now we are going to perform a new scan. So I'll go to new scan. In the scan, you can give the name scan my DB. Then it will be connected with the runtime. If it is on premise, then you have to create a new runtime. Then you have to go with the credentials. So right now we are inside the Microsoft Purview credentials. Then what type of scan you want. So if you look into here, you will see auto detect. By default, apply the highest level supported by the source. Then extract basic information and metadata like file name, file size, fully qualified name. So in the ADLS, there may be thousands of file. You want to identify whether the file naming convention is proper or not. So it will extract that information. Extract schema for structured file types, database table. Extract schema where applicable subjects the sample file to the system. So let's say I have a SQL database with thousands of table, and you want to extract the schema and the connectivity, all those things. So you can perform all those scans from here. So I'll choose auto detect, and then you have a by default one root collection that it has created. Now once this is done, you have to test the connection. So it says failed. Why? Because exception when processing ADLS Gen 2 failed on container test connection operation return invalid status, blah 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 blah. Because of the networking issue that might have occurred, authorization permission mismatch, the request is not authorized to perform this operation. Okay, so you have to give the proper firewall setup, all those things you have to ask. I'll go back to one of the Purview account. Register ADLS. So I'll go to the new scan, and rest everything I'll keep as it is. Test the connection. So I have another storage account where I have given the permissions. So permissions like firewall and all those things you have to set, otherwise it will not allow you to access. Once this is successful, then you can continue. You can provide the file or the container within your storage account. So I have one file in my container. Continue. And now you can perform unnecessary scans on a particular frequency. So it is going to trigger the scan. So you can set all the cron job over here. I'll choose once as of now. So this is just a recurring scans if you want to perform. So this is also good, like periodically every month or week you can perform the scan. Next thing is you can review the scan and then run. So now my scan is in queue. And now here you will see that the scanning is going on and it's a full scan. You can perform incremental, modified, all that type of scans you can perform. And I have selected it, that's why it is manual. And it will identify the assets discovered and assets ingested. Okay, there may be few assets that it looks like an asset, but it might not be able to identify it. So it is running this. You can delete, cancel, edit all these scans. You can perform a necessary scan on a particular columns also, so that also you can do. This is going to take time. So I have a very small file of 3 MB around, but it took time. So imagine that in a real world scenario it is going to take a lot of time and a lot of compute as well. So it is scanning all the records within the file and the database or whatever the data source you provide, and then it is going to perform the pattern matching. All those things will be done, and so it is a time consuming process. Till the time this is going on, let's go
And
to the collections.
what is the cost, sort of, if it is a time consuming thing, then it means that there will be some cost also to it. So how economical it
It is.
is to use it actually in real life projects?
See, I have see, it's very new to me as well. So I just gone through this part only. So costing, because until unless I do it in a real data, I will not be able to say much on the cost part. But I'll try to figure out how evaluation of the cost, because I just executed it yesterday only. So I have to check with the cost part.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. And at the same time, since we will be writing this resume there in our CV, this data purview. So the first thing they will ask is what was the cost around it. As a data architect, I know that this is a question which would be put across.
Yeah, yes, I understand. But first part is the data governance. That is the primary question that people ask, and then it comes to the costing part. But yes, I'll try to put some resources onto it. But as of now, I'm really not aware of it. Like what would be the cost? Because at least I need to run on 1 GB or 10 GB of data. Then I will be able to see to the cost. Okay, so is it completed? The scan.
So can you show us file that file you scanned, right?
Yes, sure. Mm, What happened to it? And this is happening. Sample. Yes, this one. Yes, sales data sample. So it's a 3.4 MB file. So here you see that we have order date, category, city, country, customer name, discount, order ID, postal code, profit, quantity, region, sales, blah, blah, blah. State subcategory. This is the data set and how many records it has. $2.79K records are there. Okay, so now here, so this is scan is still in progress, completed. Okay, so here you see that it has discovered 3 assets, and assets ingested 3. Now, where is
So after scanning, what would be the end result? Is that will
and
get
that's what I'm showing. Just a minute. That's what I'm showing. Just a minute. So here you see that this is the file sales dash data dash sample dot csv, and here you will see that we have performed a scan over this particular document. And here you will see that what we have got. So if I go to here, you will see that schema classification. So all full names, it has geolocation, it has the US zip code, it has the world cities, it has the US state name, right? So what it did is, from the data, it is able to identify what that data contains. It is able to classify it. Okay, so if you find that it contains the credit card information or Aadhaar number, all those things you can identify easily from the data. So now ultimately we were also doing it, but we were applying our own rules, writing the regular expression coding and all those things. Now you can do it from here itself. Another thing is, you can open that in Power BI and see how many how many particular classified categories are there, what is the data, all those things. And here you will see the hierarchy. So hierarchy is like, from a storage account, we have got the storage service. This was the container, this was the file, right? Any glossary term, if you have added, you can add it. Now, if you go to the lineage, so right now, because there are not much changes, or it is not a database, so it is not showing the lineages. But if you go to some other file, not here. So here you see that this is the sample lineage. Yeah. So here you see that application inherited from system, has database, implemented business process, it has department, products, line of business, data domain. So it has created this map view, right? So how it created, using this asset type. So it has got, here you see that it has data domain, it has product, it has system. So you can add more. So this is a part of a business. What are the business components? So you can add from here. You can add data, various or data related assets you can create. Then you have governance related, organization level. So it's a sample one which we have talked about. Now what I wanted to show you. So now what we did is, we have connected a data source and we have scanned that data source. And through scanning, we have got, okay, how many classes it has, and we have scanned it. Next thing, if you go to the collections, you can create your own new collection. So let's say HR, and then you can, who to whom you want to give the access, you can add from here. So collection admins. So that also you can do if you have a bigger organization and you have a HR head. So you can create an HR collection and give it as an admin, right? And then the assets created under that will be available as an admin to that particular role, particular user. Next is, if you go to the monitoring, you can see how many scans were performed, how many succeeded, cancelled, failed, how much time it took. All those things you can get from the monitoring part. If you go to the share, you can simply go to new share. You can select the type, like if right now we have this only, and then you can just give the email ID, or if within your account or outside your organization, if they have the Microsoft account, you can share it. And once you share this, they will be able to see it inside the share invite. Simple as that. And then you have to give the verification code, just like an OTP from the user, and then you will be able to access that shared database, or whatever the data it is ADLS or SQL Server. All those things you can get from the data share part. Coming to the source management, here you will see that scan rule set. So if I go to any data, so here you see that so many data sources are there. If I go to ADLS2, inside ADLS2 you will see that these are the different classifications. So there is a government set of rules. So like what is
Hey, so your
Now,
screen
yeah,
was
even
stuck.
I
What
see
about
the
others?
screen is stuck at the canvas of.
Yeah.
okay, okay. The other tab. Okay, is it visible now?
Yeah, they are see the downloads folder.
No, no. The Microsoft Purview
No, no,
screen.
we are not seeing it.
We are see only downloads folder.
Now can you see the Purview? Can you see it now?
Yes. Yes, yes.
Okay. So what I was talking about here in the source management, if you go to the scan rule set, in the scan rule set, you will see all the different databases. So all the data sources. If I go to ADLS2, here you will see that we have all different types of file format, and then here you will find the classification rule. So in the classification rule, you have government, finance, base, personal, security, all. If I go to government, here you will see that all the Australian company number plate, driver license, Brazilian, Canadian, European. Here you will find the all the European passport, blah blah. All these data is already available, right? They know how to identify that finance related, credit cards, debit card, be personal related, if any date of birth or the age or gender or any specific thing, security comp, if there is a password, IP addresses. So these are the default. They have created various rules. You can add your own rules. So each rule is having a pattern. So it has a, you can see over here, it has a pattern involved over here. Now, if I go to custom, you can create your own custom rule also. So I'll go to new. You can set the data set type, let's say student ID, and you can give the scan rule description. So like 8-digit numbers starting with 3 A's, and you can give the file type it will have, and you can create your own custom rule set. So that is one good feature. You can create your own scanning rules. Then you have the integration runtime. You can create your own integration runtime if it is a on-premises, self-hosted, or if it is on Azure account. So this is something that you are already aware of. You can create it. So you will be able to connect with your on-premises also. If I go to classification, if you want to add more classification, that also you can add into it as like here. If I go to Romanian passport number, so here you see that they have added it as a master data, you can say, where it will be able to classify it. So it's the data, and here we have a classification rule. You can enable disable classification rule as per your business logic. Manage attributes. You can create attribute, you can create attribute group depending upon your data source. So it is like, if you want to apply let's say on a structured data, you want to identify what a particular attribute you want to identify, or when you are performing a scan, that also you can do. So this is the part of a data map that we can see over here. uh, So all these features are available: scanning, sharing, and the source management. So sharing will provide you security, whom to give an access. Earlier there was an issue like you have to create a key vault, and then you have to give the permissions, all those things. So here you can add those things in your key vault, and then you can share. You can share by directly with the organization email. All those things you can do. Generally in now newer databases like Snowflake or in other storage accounts also, you will see that you can share it like you will have a data marketplace where you can purchase the data, buy, share, all those things you can do. So that's the overall intention of it. Then you have a glossary. If I go to glossary, new glossary, you can give the glossary name, you can have the steward, you can have the expert, you can add the email or name from here. So then what else is here? So here you can manage the ownership and who can own a particular data. If you are sharing the data with somebody else, then how many times it accessed, all those things. Management of the data sharing can be done from here. And apart from that, if you go to catalog adoption, so you can see that how if you created a data catalog, then what it will do, like how many users are accessing that catalog, and what they are doing. This is simply the monitoring part of it. Then you have a data stewardship. This is just a management of the access. So like which collection, which asset, is it containing a sensitive information, fully curated, owner assigned. So that whole health of the data you can see from here. Then you have assets. All those we have already talked about: new, updated, out of date, deleted. Sensitive, this is something, sensitivity labels you can add. So let's say in your data, if you see that there is an abusive word or something like that, so you can add here as a master data. So in the next scan it will be able to identify that part also. Yeah.
So one quick question. Okay, so
Yes.
okay, try to apply rules for any misapply labels, right? Whether it would be sensitive information or those things, right?
Mhm.
So in that case, we need to understand data first, right? And based on that, we need to define rules or labels. That
So
would be
yes, obviously, that's the prime requirement. You need to understand the business. So let's say I have an e-commerce business and I'm getting a social media reviews. So I know that there is a social media review, there is a chances of negative words, there is a chances of positive words. So what I will do is I will create the sensitive labels over here.
I guess the sensitivity
But
levels are more for PII data, financial data. So when we are
Yes.
for now for abuse or something, I guess there will be some other features. Sensitivity is normally for PII. Then we apply the encryption also on top of it. That's my guess over here, because abusive thing we do not really care. If it's coming to our database, I would not mind that. I would not like to publish it outside my company, but this is where I would like to still get whosoever is giving whatsoever
Yes.
abuses.
Yes, you are correct, Rotash. But the thing is that it all depends upon business to business use case, right? So if it's in the finance domain, that is very important. If it's about a particular brand management or marketing company, for them that is important. So it all depends upon the business to business, right? So it's not like they have not categorized it as such. Uh,
basically, we need to understand data first, and based
Data
on that, we need to define this one, right? That is the
yes,
right approach, now.
yes, yes. Data understanding has to be there, so that in the coming uh, fourth, if you when you build a data pipeline, you add that step over here, that okay, whenever you are loading the data, raw data into the your bronze layer or in the raw databases, it should always be scanned, or in the scanning can be done on a incremental basis, or a full scan that you can mention
So
there, and then it will automatically classify the data.
sort of one question over here. So when we talk about data governance, we talk about the authentication, we talk about the security, sensitivity, encryption, and also we talk about, for example, this Medallion architecture. You said I do not want my cleansing to be happening after my silver layer. In between bronze and silver, I would do that cleansing. But after silver, I do not want to do
Mhm.
cleansing. I just want to enrich my data, transform my data. So how do we ensure these
Yeah.
policies are implemented that way? Because this is where we structure
Mm.
the framework for the entire project. So how do
Yes.
we make sure? Yeah.
See, yeah. So you see that where is the whiteboard? So what you do is, one thing is your data pipeline. Okay. That you are doing in data engineering, or you created the the ADLS, and in the ADLS you are getting the data in CSVs or in text files or in any other format. Okay. And then what you did is you build the silver layer over here. Okay. All those things you have there. Now, when it comes to data governance, it's more about ensuring you are having a right data. Okay. So what you are going to do is, here the purview come into picture, and you are going to perform a scanning on that part, maybe on the silver layer or maybe on the gold part. So you will apply all transformation, that will be part of your data
Perfect.
pipeline. But after after transformation, or after putting the data into the golden layer, to ensure that data is correct or not, earlier you were facing challenges, you were performing as per your knowledge, or whatever you feel you are performing the transformation. But I personally experienced that sometimes we have a credit card data, sometimes we have the password also in that, right? So we have those kind of data, or maybe some data that is not confronting with the GDPR policies, or maybe new data privacy protection policies. Okay. So as per Indian data privacy protection policy September 2024,
Makes
you cannot
sense.
keep Aadhaar
Makes
numbers
sense.
in the
That
database.
policy should be applied right
That's the
there at the
policy,
bronze layer.
right?
In our system, we should be making sure that no Aadhaar number
Yes.
is coming as is. And then once we
Yes.
have it in silver
Yes.
layer, and gold is anyways our presentation layer. So after silver layer, I do not want any
Yeah.
data cleansing to be happening, because I have seen in projects data
Yeah.
engineers do data cleansing even after silver layer, which is not the right thing. This is where I
Yeah.
want to enforce the policies, as we are talking about policies over here, that it should be happening before we load data into silver. And data engineers just do not understand that concept, because they think that, okay, this is a SQL function for them. At the end of the day, they are putting it there or they are putting it here. It really does not matter. I
Yes.
So how do we
Data engineer
enforce
for
it?
them, they understand the data, what's the data for the business. They are more concerned with the data
Right,
pipeline and all
right.
those things, right? So my idea is, let put everything in the bronze layer. Let's dump everything in the bronze layer, okay? And when you perform cleansing, transformation, do everything in the silver layer and perform the scans at the silver layer itself. So you don't have to touch the golden layer, right? Once you feel that your scans have gone for this particular timestamp, then you put that data
But
into the gold layer.
my question is more about that. For example, we have this policy. Let's say that we are going to implement this use case study for healthcare, which we are planning in
Mm.
this session.
Yeah.
So over
Yeah.
there, we will like
Yeah.
to enforce this policy that none of the data engineers in the project who are not even there in the project yet, never able to cleanse the data after silver layer, because they just have to write a piece of SQL code and then they get to execute it also. Nobody can take that privilege from them. So how do we ensure?
That's usually,
Yeah.
so in that case, let's say if you have built it on a SQL server with a gold
Mm-hmm.
layer,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then here you see that, uh, in the purview. Yeah, so here you see that data stewardship. So now you are not going to give the writer permission, only the reader permissions you can give. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But
that you can
but
do
but but
for
actually, right
modifications.
permission I have to give, because
That
transformation is again a right operation. So that permission has to be allowed, but we just have to make sure. So I do not know if you know the concept of hard rules or soft rules. Uh,
yeah,
right. So
yeah,
if we're talking about in words of hard rules and soft rules, hard rules are something which I would like to apply before the silver layer is even created. So I do not want, and soft rules should be applied after silver layer. So that is where I'm saying, since soft rules and hard rules require the same kind of permissions, we really cannot uh, enforce this policy of just reading the data after silver layer, because soft rules still has to be applied. And that is where, it's very hard to communicate with data engineers and to let them know the difference between hard rule and soft rule. So
yeah. I got it. But here, you can give only when you are giving the permission, you can only give the insert permission also. That's a very much possible, while as far as this golden layer or a silver layer is concerned. So once they dump the data, they cannot change it. So they are the permission for data engineer, they can only add the data, append the data. That's it.
but transformation layer is again changing it.
Transformation is generating, yeah. So that silver layer you will be able to, now once the data is in the golden layer, you don't want any changes in the rows, so that you
So
can
for
enforce. But because it's the nature of the business, that the transformation means that you are going to perform the cleaning or missing, filling the missing value, so
okay,
you have
so
to give the
let's have
approved
an example.
permissions.
Let's say that someone's name is coming as A-B from the source
Mm,
system, and now this hyphen
mm,
is basically creating the data quality issue, which has to be modified
mm,
there at before loading it in silver. That hyphen has to be removed, and then once it's done,
mm,
then after silver layer, we want the name to be B comma A, uh, surname
mm,
comma first name. So now these two are very
mm,
identical rules, and for data engineers, both look like, okay, we can do it in one go. We will write one SQL function where this hyphen will be removed, and then this comma will be added, and then surname will come before the start of the string. So, so I want to ensure that these two rules are applied separately, and the hyphen removal is applied before silver, and comma is applied after silver. This is the policy now. This
mm.
is a very simple example I am giving over here, and this is the policy. This is a very clearly defined policy. So how do we enforce
Mhm.
this policy? The keyword is enforce. In case they are trying to do something like this, they should be able to, they should not be able to do it.
Yes. So, that's a very good question. So yeah, I think Snowflake also very good, right? So in the Snowflake, when you load the data, right? So at the time of a copy command itself, you write all those things there itself. And there is the validation rules are put at the copy statement itself. And then it has a very good thing that if whatever the number of rows pass the rule, that only be inserted, remaining will go into the failed part. And then again you have notification will be sent to the data or source people or the data engineers, and they have to again reprocess, and the left part will only be reprocessed. That is something I did uh, around 2 3 months ago in Snowflake. I think
Um,
Snowflake to the best of my knowledge. Yeah.
Soro, shall I add something over here?
Sure.
Yeah, so Rotos, I'm not sure, but Soro, can we apply some regular expression? Okay, the how Rotos wants, right? So basically, what we can do, okay, suppose if we want to apply the data like B comma A somewhere on gold layer, right? So in that case, we can create one rows, okay, using a regular
No, no,
expression, and that could be
the
defined
question
somewhere
is
on
not
gold
the
layer, or how
implementation
we
part
want
of
to.
it, Alish. It is more about enforcement of the policies. So, but I think I got the answer to some extent, and the answer is that as a data architect, we have to clearly define the policies. For example, if I'm saying it like this, then I have to have my own rule book, which has to be maintained at this silver layer, and then this rule book also, and the separate rule book has to be created for my gold layer loading. So I guess that's the
Yes. Yes.
right way of doing it. Eh,
Right.
Okay.
Right. And it has to be, and we have to be very tough on that part, because what I have seen that we create very wonderful policies, and slowly we as and when situation comes, and we try to modify it and
Yeah,
try to
yeah.
get through it. So the
Ex-
investment is very very important, and for that, like, if and the problem is that the manager or the people will talk more about that, why it's not loaded or why it is taking too much of time. So there you have to take your stand that, okay, this is the policy. Either we have to change the policy for the whole data, and
okay.
there is no green channel kind of thing, right?
But Suro, suppose okay, the things has been told by Rotas, right? Suppose we want to implement, then in that case, implementation part, the how I told that could be
That
possible, right?
here everything we were doing it before data engineers came into picture. Everything we were maintaining it using the simple triggers in the database.
Okay. But
We
suppose okay,
were
suppose okay,
all I mean, like, I have personally enforced so many policies by just using the triggers. Only thing is, as the earlier there was no the volume of the data was less, so we were able to manage it. But as the data grows, those triggers were failing, and the data getting deadlocked, the database getting deadlocked, those issues were started coming in. So ultimately, these things came into picture, cloud and all, horizontal scaling,
So,
vertical scaling. Yeah.
so
Yeah,
Saurabh,
you were
over
saying
here,
something.
when we say that policy, okay, so let's go ahead with this simple example, this hyphen and then this comma. So now this
Yeah.
is a very clearly defined policy
Yeah.
for me in the silver layer when where I have to remove the hyphen. Now this policy will be mapped to a mapping so that I know that this policy has been implemented. Or how do I get to know that this policy is enforced and is not just ignored somehow?
That's what the scanning coming to
Scan.
picture is.
Okay.
This whole thing. This the governance part come into picture, whether the policy is enforced
Okay,
or
I
not.
thought scanning is more for the profiling part, but
Right.
this is going to enforce the policies.
And the governance, and here you can set the custom rules, right? All the custom rules you can set here. this. You can create your own rules. Right. Yes. You can create your own. So by regular expression, by dictionary, you can write everything here.
Yeah, so first of all, we need to create a policy or we need to set a rules, and later we need to go for scanning somewhere on silver or gold at the how we want. That is
Yes.
the right approach, correct?
Yes. Yes. So always try to put it at the silver layer itself, because bronze layer ultimately you're dumping the data, so there's no point in putting over there. And because sometimes if the job fail, you might lose the data, or those challenges come if you perform everything at the
In
bronze.
bronze layer, the
So try to
only
put it in
policy
there.
which we should be implementing is that we should ensure that there are no wear conditions, there are no filter conditions.
Yes. So generally, what policy should be enforced at the bronze layer? Whatever the number of source files are there, we have got the same source files. We have got the same number of rows, same number of data. These things you can put
Saurabh,
in
would it be
place.
possible for you to show this thing by an example wherein we have a policy, then we have a rule, and then we have a mapping? And if the mapping is not there or the rule is not there, what's gonna happen in those scenarios?
that that pipeline thing we have to set up separately first. First we have to create that pipeline, then the preview come into picture. So again, whatever the healthcare thing that we are trying to implement, where I
Perfect.
will
Thank
try
you
to
so
put it.
much.
Yes. So I think you all guys might have got a fair understanding of it. May not be until unless you do it by your own. When you try it, you might face different challenges. Challenges. Most of the first challenge that you will get is the accessibility. Sometimes your firewall will cause problems. Sometimes your role will cause problems. Right. So these things you have to sort it out with your the Azure admin. Right. And rest everything, it's like an hit and trial. The same way I did it, I never used the purview, and a lot of things in the purview is still under the preview mode. And people have not yet implemented. I have not seen a lot of people implementing it as of now, but I personally feel that it will have the good future coming up as the data is growing, and a lot of security governance people are talking about it. So give a hands on to it, give try it, and maybe you can share your findings. Because I'm also learner on this particular thing, so you can share your stuff, and meanwhile I will also do it as we are going to implement it in a project. Yeah, any doubt guys in this?
No, so from my side.
Thank you. Yeah, Ramesh. Now coming to interview part, I think this much is a good enough to answer, because nobody will ask you to do it in front of them, but they will definitely ask you how you did it, what is data governance, what is data cataloging, how you can manage it, so you can create the you can register the data sources, you can perform a scanning. In the scanning, you can enforce the rules, right? Data validation, and then you can create it as an asset, and then you can perform the sharing. In the sharing, you can perform it within a team, outside team, at the organization level. You can add your integration in. You can create your self-hosted integration runtime for the local part. You can get the classification. You can create your own data policies. You can enforce. You can have a data steward in your project, who is going to monitor, who has accessed the data for how much time. All those things you can, at least you will be in a position to answer. The rest, we all have to do it. The thing is, you have to do the hands on. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Any other further question?
Apart from
Now, coming.
Purview, where else with
Yeah.
any other tools like in Databricks and all,
Yes.
where we'll do the
There is a very good one, is the Atlas data governance. Atlas. It's a API driven. Yes, Apache Atlas. Here also you can do. It's a open source one. So it is also doing the same thing: classification, data lineage, discovery, security, data masking. So a lot of people are using the Apache Atlas also for that purpose.
Okay.
So, suppose okay, here okay, we want to apply scanning on Databricks side on notebook. So, can we do using Purview over there, or they have
Yes.
some dedicated tool over there?
No, no, here you can do. So if I go to here, data map, register, data break. Yeah. So here you see that you can use the data break for that purpose.
Okay.
So in this case, we'll get a question like in Databricks also we'll do cataloging, uh, Metastore and Unity catalog is there.
Mhm.
Some part of metadata maintenance and governance. Some part we'll do there.
Hmm.
So question may arise like
Yes, yes. So in that case, Databricks is a you can say it's a identity in itself. Okay. Now they are providing services on Azure. Now I may have a data in data lake. I may have the data in my SQL server or maybe in Cosmos DB. So I have my own ecosystem within the organization. Okay. So for that purpose, to when we talk about the data governance, it's a holistic approach. It is not an independent one. Where in the data break, you if you are just working on the data break or everything is in the data break, then it's fine. You can do it from there itself. But as a holistic, complete project level, if you talk about, then there is you might have to go with Microsoft Purview or maybe Apache Atlas or any other framework for that purpose. Right?
yes. Got it. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Any other question, guys? Okay, great. So I hope that it might have opened or gave you the directions about the data governance or Microsoft Purview. You can give a hands-on try onto it. Maybe some question come into your mind. You can post it on the group. We'll try to resolve it. It's a learning for us as well, and go through when we will sail in the same way. And apart from that, coming to the data modeling of the healthcare project in the next week, but we'll try to do it on the weekdays only, right? So there we will do the data modeling of the our project.
So, are we not having a session on coming Saturday, or how is it?
Instead of Saturday, we'll try to put it on weekday.
Okay.
Okay, great. Any other question, guys? Sure. I hope the session will be like it is fruitful for you people. Thank you so much for joining in, and keep posting on the WhatsApp group if you face any challenge, and please give a try on the Microsoft Word. Okay.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.